We are finally getting Andor Season 2 news. We've got a release date. We've got a teaser that was shown. So much to talk about. Welcome to the Force fandom. If this is the first time you've clicked on this channel, glad that you're here. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more Andor content. I'm going to be going all out for Andor. It was one of the shows that I really loved up until this point. And actually, I'm going to be doing a rewatch of Andor Season 1 on the lead up to Season 2. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get into the news and talk about some of the teased stuff. So let's hop over to Twitter. Here's what I'm talking about. Andor Season 2 premiering April 22nd, 2025, 5 months away. I'm super excited. Let's take a look at this teaser. Now, this was part of a larger video, about a 2-minute video, that was showing all of the content that's coming out on Disney+. I'm not going to watch that whole thing because I'm really not that interested in all of it. I'm just interested here. So the music feels a little off, but it's because it was part of a bigger teaser trailer for all of these other things. Let's see what it's about.
Is there no one who can help us?
We need a pilot.
You're thinking like a thief.
I'm thinking like a soldier.
Think like a leader.
It wasn't much there. It was just 11 seconds, but I think there's enough to talk about that warrants a video, because even at the beginning of this, we see it opening with the Stormtroopers. And if you look closely at this image, you could tell that this is Ferrix. This is probably right after the revolt, the fight.
Fight the Empire.
It looks like right here in the bottom, it looks like one of the miners wearing those overcoats, possibly. Editor Jeremy here. Nope, that's wrong. Actually, it looks like the overcoats of the Aldani troopers. So it's not the miners, but I still think that scene is coming from Ferrix, knowing the riot that's just happened. And that's kind of where things left off when we ended Season 1. Back to the video. It looks like some kind of riot. And one of the things I really appreciated and loved about the way that Andor kind of did things is you didn't see many stormtroopers. You saw all of these other Imperial officers and Imperial soldiers, and they were kind of dumb and they kind of messed things up. And so when the stormtroopers show up, it's kind of like that oh shit moment, like the real soldiers are here. Now, take what you will from all of that, like the goofiness over the years of the accuracy of stormtroopers and the jokes that we've made about stormtroopers, but the way that this show brought them in, they're the muscle. They're the ones that are really going to be here with their E11 blasters, with everything else. And it just looks really awesome, the way that they've not just been used as fodder, but instead they're the ones. Now the Empire is really showing up with its full force. That this is a rebellion that needs squashed, and so the Stormtroopers are the ones being sent in. I think it's really cool. Now, we can't go too far. I know this wasn't in the teaser trailer, but we do have to mention there's been an update and a change to Andor Season 2 that we didn't see in Season 1, and that's the addition of this line right here at the bottom. Andor, a Star Wars story, Season 2. We didn't have that before. That had kind of been just for Rogue One and Solo, but now we get Andor, a Star Wars story. Why do they do this? I think it's partly due to the beginning low viewership that Andor began with when it first came out, because not many people knew who Andor was. The name Andor doesn't really connect with people who haven't really paid attention or who aren't huge into Star Wars. And so now it's this communication that this is a Star Wars story. This is Star Wars, even though that's been what some people have not liked about Andor, is it didn't feel Star Wars enough. And I just, and we've already heard, even though, again, it got reported recently like it was new news, maybe it was at D23, I can't keep it all straight, that Andor is going to take a year between every 3 episodes. So every 3 episodes are basically going to cover a year of time, leading straight into Rogue One. This isn't new news. This is exactly what Tony Gilroy has said for years. I forgot my coffee. I'll be right back. Whew, much better. You can pick up yours down in the comments below. Let's keep a rolling. What was the next? I don't know what the next scene was. We're just going to talk about the screenshots that I have. And I loved this TIE Interceptor that we see that Cassian is somehow inside of. That he is the one kind of stealing this Interceptor, firing his way out of what looks like a hangar bay. That's interesting, right? There's some kind of heist. There's some kind of thing that's going to happen. It's kind of reminiscent of Sabine Wren stealing a TIE fighter and then painting it. I don't know if you've seen all that. If you haven't paid attention to Rebels, you wouldn't know. But there's something interesting, though, about this Interceptor. It's not exactly the same as what we've seen with Interceptors. It's a little bit different. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. So I used to play the Star Wars miniatures game X-Wing, and here is a TIE Interceptor from there. You can see the shape is a little bit different here than in that image. It's a little bit rounder. It's like they just took the center of a TIE fighter, threw it between two different foils on the sides, and it also has a circular engine on the back. This is what TIE Interceptors are. Now, Cassian is in an Interceptor, but the engines and the shape of the cockpit are a little bit different, a little more angular, not so much round. So I'm not quite sure what this is exactly referencing or the difference. It almost looks like a shuttle-esque size, like it's bigger than here. And maybe this isn't even the same exact ship. Maybe it's not the same exact fighter that Andor is getting into, but when you look at this back shot that it has, there's this gate that looks like it would probably drop down. And if you remember, most of the other TIE fighters, you would get in through the top and drop in. This looks more like a shuttle type, or maybe one that would be more akin to what Kylo Ren was flying in his ship. But I'm going to leave it up to you guys. If you know, you guys know more than I do. So let me know down below, what is this in reference to? Do you know? Would love to hear from you there. But I love the idea of a heist, of going in and stealing an Interceptor. I mean, this is the type of things that the Rebels have to do to mess with the Empire, who have just more strength, more size, more everything. They have to do it. Then in this next shot, we see what looks like Ferrix. This is Bix. I don't remember his name and I don't recognize her, but they're definitely looking back at something. Not much we can pull from that image. And then this is another picture of Cassian. I think we're seeing a lot of different ways that Cassian's going to be used. We already know that there's going to be multiple years that go between what's happening. And in the teaser trailer, we hear Cassian speaking to Luthen, and Luthen really kind of telling him he needs to be a leader. He needs to be someone who takes charge, who actually does what a leader does. And what does a leader do? A leader puts their life on the line for others. A leader sacrifices on behalf of what's happening. That's what Luthen has been doing. And we see that from his monologue in season 1, and that push and that heart behind the rebellion. And the leaders we're seeing, like Luthen, like Mon Mothma, like all of these others. And it really is interesting to me that we're going to get more of this character building. Now, again, there's folks that are going to say that this has been boring, that they don't really enjoy Andor as much as they've enjoyed other things. That's fine. That's fair. If you think Andor is boring, okay. But there's something I think beautiful and just absolutely stunning about the way these characters are being built. The subtleties and the challenges and the suffering that they face all gives this context and backstory to Rogue One and to the entire Rebel Alliance going forward. This is the birth of all of that. I want it to be painstakingly slow. I want it to be meticulous in the losses that have led up to this. If you remember, there's a line in Rogue One where Andor's talking, Cassian's talking about they've all sacrificed, they've all lost things. They've all done things they're not like proud of to get to this moment. And that's part of the reason that all of it comes to a head to get the Death Star plans, because they don't want all of that to be for nothing. So what is all of that? I want to see that. We saw a lot of that in Andor Season 1, and I'm super excited to see that in Andor Season 2. There's still more, because we got an image of K2SO. Or at least that's what I would say. I haven't seen anyone disputing that this just isn't a regular droid, but that in fact this is K2. And for a long time, all the way back to Season 1 of Andor, people have kind of had this sinking suspicion that the B2 EMO that showed up in Andor Season 1 is somehow going to be K2SO. That's going to kind of give this depth to that character, where B2 has been with Cassian since he was found. Really, he's his last family member after Marva has died, and now that kind of gives a whole different perspective, and it kind of has that similar tone and cadence between the two. I'm not saying that has to happen, but I think it could be really interesting. At the very least, K2 was one of those characters from Rogue One that just was good.
I am taking them to imprison them in prison.
He's taking us to...
Quiet!
His comedic timing, his deadpan delivery, the way that he would say certain things and be a part of different things, but also the way that he brought such emotion in giving his life to make sure that the rebellion could continue, that Cassian could continue and get the plans, is absolutely beautiful.
Broadcast from the tower. Locking the vault door now. Goodbye.
And I think it just gives more depth if there's more story there. So I have a feeling, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? Are you excited for Andor Season 2? If you're interested in more Andor content, smash that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing some Andor content on the lead up to Season 2. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to do a rewatch of Andor Season 1 and really take a deep look at what worked so well in that show, looking at the cinematography, looking at all the different layers from episode to episode that made Andor Season 1 great, and why it's worth your time. If you have not yet watched Andor, I encourage you to do it. Watch it. Enjoy it. You can watch it really the way I think it was intended to be watched, which was in these 3-episode chunks, almost little mini movies, if you will. And I wonder if that's going to be the release schedule of Andor Season 2. I kind of hope not. Let us live and breathe after these episodes, because they jam-pack them with so much interesting, thought-provoking just stuff, that it isn't just blaster fire and heist every episode. Though we did hear Tony Gilroy talk about what he's doing in that first few episodes. He talked about this a year ago, and if you want to see that video where he's talking about Season 2, you can click right here. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, the Force will be with you always.